Now we will call the July 22nd, 2019 regular meeting of Peters Township Council to order. Mr. Jarosky, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Merrill?
Present.
Mr. Steigel? Present. Mr. Arcuri?
Here.
Mr. Kozer?
Here.
Mr. Berquist?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Present.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes of the regular meeting of July 8, 2019.
Move that we approve. I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I had asked Mr. Jarosky to make a change, an adjustment to Section 5E, approval of Thomas Road subdivision. I asked that he clarify that I asked about the idea, the size of the lots, going from a half an acre or what, and Mr. Zook clarified that they're going to be conservation overlay option. So I just needed that clarification in there.
And that was added.
And that was added. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. 7-0, Mr. Jarosky. Move on to special reports, of which there are none. So we'll move on to audience comments. This is a time of the meeting where anyone can speak for 5 minutes on a non-agenda item. Is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Good evening, Council. Ron Books, 855 Bebot Road, Venetia. Approximately 3 weeks ago, there was a workshop, and one of the topics covered in the workshop had to deal with violations of various building or housing ordinances. And a copy of some of the violations for the month of June were circulated. I had a copy and I took it home, and rather than discard it, I took a look at it. And I found some rather interesting things that kind of defied what I consider to be reasonable logic. Number one is 9 of the 11 violations that were cited were for site distance violations. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that has to do with shrubbery that's blocking the view of someone who's entering or leaving a driveway. Is that correct?
Or a corner or an intersection.
Pardon me?
Or a corner and intersection.
Okay. Well, I wondered because 5 of those 11 violations for site distance happened on Hayes Road. 5 of the 11. So I was wondering whether we had a crime syndicate over there that were growing bushes bigger than the other people, or what the story was. But was there some sort of a rash of automobile accidents or something that preempted the attention that Hayes Road got?
There were bushes, trees, plants out into the roadway, and we were getting complaints that people couldn't see, and cars were getting scratched.
Okay.
So we notified those residents.
So Hayes Road was targeted because there were conversations with the public that indicated that these violations were a problem to them.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. I just wondered if they were targeted for arbitrary purposes.
You don't target anyone for arbitrary purposes.
Well, that's the reason I asked. You see, that makes it clear, because I don't want a preemption or presumption being unsupported. You just supported it. Okay, while we're at it, take a look at the entrance to the old Rolling Hills golf course.
We're aware.
You're aware of it? Good. That needs a little trimming up there. That's a site violation. Also, that tree trunk is still precariously...
On Bebop?
No. Right down the road from the entrance to Rolling Hills, headed west.
On the power line?
Yeah, it's on the power line, right. That's been there for a couple of years. Just wondering if somebody, the power company or somebody could take care of that. I'd hate to see that come down. The other item that I thought I'd just bring up, I I was watching the evening news, and there was a report of a town in Connecticut, of all places, where I went to school at. Spent some years up there. And they were offering a discount for doorbell cameras. Now, what's that got to do with the price of tea in China? Well, the chief of police indicated that by offering a discount, a lot of people in the community, this was a town in Connecticut, had taken advantage of the situation and bought them. And lo and behold, 3 crimes had been solved. So that may be a possible idea in terms of public safety. Something of that nature, I think, would be helpful to get that out. So thank you very much for your time.
Did you read the rest of the article that talked about the comments of invasion of privacy?
Oh, yeah, I read that. I don't know that that's really true because we're talking about my front porch, but did you realize where those complaints came from?
I don't know that I have a recollection.
Came from a selected minority community. I won't go any further.
Thank you, Mr. Books. Anyone else?
Hi, Jolie Cantrell, 446 East McMurray Road. So I was surprised to see, I didn't see the non-discrimination statement on the agenda tonight. I'm assuming you guys are still looking into it and hadn't come up with the wording yet, so I'm still hopeful that we will see that like was discussed at the last meeting.
Are you talking about the language to be added to the website?
website?
It's actually already on the website.
Oh, okay.
It's under employment opportunities. Is that right, Tom?
Up in the About Peters Township
About Peters
section.
Township.
Yeah.
Yes, it's there.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for doing that. And I also wanted to, I'm not sure if you saw that Washington County, for their employees, added language that was similar with gender identity and sexual orientation. So you guys kind of led the way a little bit with that, but if you didn't notice that, I wanted you to be aware of it just as something else going on in the county, that it is important to other people too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item?
Ann Chainer, 123 Robin Hood Lane. Okay, after last week when I asked Mr. Lauer about the survey concerning the market analysis for the pool or aquatic facility expenditure, I went home and I did some researching. Plus, I talked to the researchers over at the University of Pittsburgh that I work for. I'm not even going to tell you what they said, but a standard survey should, take in about 100 based on your population. So there's about 100 is the minimum, and it should not exceed 1,000. We have about roughly, I guess, about 7,500 households in the township. You may know the exact number, but I'm guessing about 7,500 from what I've read. So if there's 7,500 households, and they say that if you want to be safe, you should take about 10%. So that would be about 750 that you would survey, okay? So I just have an issue with this 250 number that this company wants to do. Now, if you do the scientific formulas to gather a sample, it's very confusing and involved, okay? So I can't quote them to you. But for about 7,000, it would be, they're saying it would be 378. That would be the number. So even that is more than 250. So if he's using garbage collection bills as the population, then I don't see where they're coming up with this 250. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so that's my question. That's my concern. And the bigger issue is, this is $32,000 that you authorized to spend for this survey. And Mr. Curie asked for some clarification on this. And so then Mr. Lauer said, well, we have this company that the YMCA used, and, you know. So I say, next time you authorize expenditure for such a thing, you should first ask to see what it's going to involve. I think that would be prudent.
I think the fee was even going to be more, but because they've already done some preliminary work, we were able to piggyback off of their prior effort that they had done.
Yes, that's correct. And they had also provided a proposal to Mr. Lauer that detailed their scope of services for that amount of money.
Is that available anywhere to see?
We have a copy.
What they're, do you just have a copy?
I have, yeah, we have copies of it.
It's not open to public view?
File a right to know. And, yeah.
Well, you know, they could use another study that they did that might be acceptable, but I don't know. I just think that as, you know, our council, because this has been a heated issue, you know, within the township, that perhaps more, maybe more concern should be given to it as to making it more unique to Peters Township, and perhaps not employing it to another study that they did.
Well, I think that prior study was in Peters Township.
It wasn't? Well, see, this is what I'm saying. Everybody I talked to say they were never part of a study, and that's the issue too, I think.
The study didn't happen. When the YMCA was considering partnering with the township, they wanted to gauge what the usage might be if a pool was in their area. And they were beginning to look at that. But then, as you all know, they faced some economic issues and pulled out of the whole agreement. So the study never was done. It was just commissioned. Am I correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
that's why
They drafted a scope of services for it. They just never executed upon it.
So
yes.
they had already engaged Campos to look at developing a survey that would be about the particular site in Peters in Rolling Hills Park if they were going to build it.
All right, so one last question. Will this company come and present this so we can hear about it publicly when this is done?
Before or after? Before or after?
Well, with their findings, to report their findings.
The findings, we'll report the findings publicly, either the company or Mr. Lauer or myself.
Well, I would like to put in a request that the company come so that the public can see and they can know what they did.
Was that included in the bid?
You know what, I don't know offhand. I think just the final results are, though, the presentation was most likely to be done by staff.
All right, well,
I'll take a look at it and I will report back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still not pleased. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sharon.
Amy.
Anyone else in the audience? Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which there is none, so we'll move on to new business. First item is a resolution adopting a winter storm road maintenance policy.
Yes, Peters Township Council had previously authorized the manager and staff to review all of the township policies, determine compliance with current practice, township ordinances, local, state, federal regulations, and the expectations of our residents. The snow removal policy was actually our oldest policy. It was adopted in February of 1991. The revised winter storm road maintenance policy that's in front of you tonight is a product of multi-department cooperation. Some of the more impactful changes I put on the screen here, and we can go through these if you'd like. The new policies, both in compliance with township ordinance, the current practices of the Public Works Department, the Police Department, and the Engineering Departments. Mr. Herson has been gracious enough to attend here tonight to answer any questions either on our current practice or the policy. It's my recommendation that council adopt resolution 070319, but if you'd like to go through any of the amendments or additions to the policy, we can certainly do that.
Any member of council want to go over any of these specific amendments?
No, I would just like to say that Mr. Jarosky and I exchanged some emails. I had a few questions, and he was kind enough to clarify. Nothing of major change or anything, just some clarification about use of brine, and then use of outside contractors.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 070319, approving a winter storm road maintenance policy effective immediately.
I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Does it include repealing the previous policy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I assume it does.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Jurovsky. Next item is resolution authorizing the appropriate officials to submit an application for a municipal transportation fund grant of $2 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority for the purpose of financing Phase 2 of the construction of Rolling Hills Drive.
Yes, and Phase 2 is on the screen right now. The township had previously applied for this program last year about this time for Phase 1. I will tell you, I happen to believe, and don't quote me on this or play this again if we don't happen to get this grant, but we're in a better position for Phase 2. We're further along with design and permitting, and we have buy-in from all the impacted property owners. The total estimated cost for Phase 2 is $3.2 million. The township and school district would be contributing $1.2 million for the match and seeking $2 million through this grant program.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 07-04-19.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Jurovsky. Next item is renew the contract for the publishing of In Peters Township Community Magazine.
Yes, the township's current contract with In Community Magazines, which publishes the In Peters Township magazine, set to expire. Since 2009, the township's contracted with In Community Magazine to place 20 pages in the 6 bi-monthly publications that In Community Magazines gives out to the community. The proposal before you tonight is a 3-year contract that keeps our rates at their current levels for the next 3 years, which is $4,830 per issue or $28,980 a year. It's my recommendation council award a 3-year contract to In Community Magazine for the purpose of publishing the In Peters Township magazine at the rates outlined in their proposal.
So moved.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
Yes. I want to admit that I was opposed to going into this magazine from the onset. I think they've done an excellent job. And for the public out there, at the time we entered into this agreement, there was a significant investigation done as to what we were spending to prepare and mail out and distribute the program, and it was competitive with that. So I think the public's accepted where it is. I think they've done a good job.
I would agree.
I agree with you.
I'd strongly doubt you'd find a cheaper rate, honestly, at this
Actually,
point.
I think the rate they gave us years ago was actually lower than what we were spending to publish it, and we're getting a more quality, I think, a more quality product.
I'd agree. They've been they've worked well with staff on deadlines and extending them if need be. So they've been very cooperative.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Jurovsky. Next item is payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the payroll and bills. I find them in order and move they be paid.
I'll second. Motion and second. Any discussion?
I do have a question, Mr. Jurovsky. There's an item for global equipment, $4,600 for changing tables and dryers. I'm taking a wild guess that's for the library.
Yes.
Well, you know, I've been really annoyed about the library restroom project. We in addition to what we are paying them base, they didn't include this equipment?
No. That was included. This is separate from that.
So it's for the other restrooms?
Yes.
Okay.
This is for...
Because I was going to get even more annoyed.
We looked at possibly salvaging the existing changing table from one of the restrooms and moving it upstairs. It did not work.
No, often it doesn't. But
No.
the library restrooms, from what I understand, still have some outstanding issues.
They do.
That's been a torturous project for them and for the community. So, thank you. I just needed a clarification.
Yes.
And to make sure when they hang the changing table, I don't know whether we can do this or not, but, and I should know this, but I don't. Is there a requirement under the construction code as to how high those things have to see? That's what I thought it was.
It's 88.
Because my wife always used to complain. She said it's obvious that a man hangs the changing tables in the ladies' room because they were all too high. So I thought it was a code issue, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 7-0, Mr. Jurovsky. We'll move on to correspondence, of which there is none. Anything come in, Ryan, that's not on the agenda?
No.
Okay. As far as reports, any member of council have any questions or comments with regard to the various committee reports?
Yes, I do again. Here, I would like everybody to reflect back to the quality of the reports that we used to get 5 or 6 years ago. And I want to commend all of the staff and all of the departments for significantly improving the format, the information that we get in these. I think it's great. Thank you.
I agree.
Mrs. Merrill, you had something to add?
I did have a question for the engineer, Mr. Zamitis. I understand that they finally started the Center Church Road area. And we have been talking to the school about that. School starts earlier.
Yes.
The 21st of August. Are they still thinking they're going to hit that target?
They're hopeful. I'm skeptical. As a preemptive strike, I did talk to the school district transportation department and just asked them, in a what-if scenario, what if the intersection's not ready? And, you know, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but paraphrasing, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. I said, hey, look, we understand. We've been through worse. We're going to adjust the routes for a couple weeks if we have to make everything work. But, we're going to push the contractor and try to get it done. But it's a long work.
Anybody else have any comments or questions with regard to the meeting reports?
I would just like to note that Mr. Lauer and his, I think it was Mr. Lauer, his manager's report talked about the ambulance monthly report has been completely reworked. And I reviewed it, and I do see that it gives a hell of a lot more detail than we normally would get. It still doesn't answer the question that we've been waiting for is that pertain to the finances and our funding thereof. So I wanted to make sure that this isn't the end of that.
Mr. Lauer wants to discuss that with you actually at the next meeting, but I would say that this report's a substantial step in the right direction in terms of understanding the operations of the ambulance service, and even knowing on the calls that they cannot respond to, they actually give you a listed reason as to why they can't respond. So.
Okay, moving on to miscellaneous. In August, we're getting kicked out of here, right?
Yes, construction starts tomorrow on this room. So when you come back, it will be heated and cooled appropriately, and the lighting will be what you expect of it. Again, don't replay this should that not be the case. But yes, our next meeting will be in the community room across the street behind the police station.
And that'll be for the both meetings?
Yes, for the Planning Commission. Oh, no, just for the August 12th meeting of council and for the Planning Commission meeting later that week.
How are we going to memorialize that meeting? I mean, there's not cameras.
Actually, Mr. Bonai is working on a way of taping the meeting. So, yes, it will not be the quality that you see now, but it will still be very good.
With a camcorder?
Yeah.
So August 26th, we'll be back.
Yes, we will.
Okay. All right. Anything else under miscellaneous?
No.
Anything any member of council wants to see on the next agenda? Hearing nothing, we have an executive session, right?
Yes, discuss a personnel and legal matter.
All right, meeting adjourned.